Honestly, if it is true, I'm disappointed. I am disappointed, honestly, because it would take the shine of anything that happened today from the contest. And what can I say? It's not the best to happen. I mean, NPP, we know there could be issues here and there, but there were clear guidelines that were issued by the party to guide the conduct of how people should vote. And if this is happening, then it's very unfortunate.
It is very unfortunate. But he also makes allegations about, you know, the ballots being shown as against the rules.
Yes.
That are being made as well.
What does the rule say about ballots that are shown? You know, probably that they should enforce the rule to the letter, so that they believe that they are enforcing their own rules. Otherwise, it will be a sham, to be very honest.
Let's go back to Roland Walker. I think he can hear us now. Roland, can you hear me now? Hello, Roland. Roland, can you hear me? Oh, okay. I'm not sure. I'm not sure he can. But Dr. Sasansi, what do you make of this as well?
I'm not surprised. Because every time that we talk about these things, political parties, they pretend that they don't exist. That people, you know, bus people to places. People use all manner of tricks, including propaganda. One of the issues I wanted to react to was the issue of, you know, almost everybody following the vice president and all that. We call it podcast and the bandwagon effect. That the right thinking people are here. Why have you decided to stay away? It doesn't win any election. Intimidation, harassment, do not. Look at what we are seeing. I'm not surprised because, look, from the beginning, when people started talking about the breaches regarding the rules governing elections within NPP, the party dismissed it, shoved it under the carpet. Today, it has blown in their face right here. That this is what, if what we are hearing is anything to go by, then it tells you that it's hypocrisy. All right, why do you set rules and then you come out to condemn, you know, kick against the rules? Why are the sanction regimes? Why are the police looking on without arresting anybody? Where is the election management body, which is supposed to make sure that the election is organized in a much secret manner, so as to ensure it foolproof and all that. All these things have been thrown to the dogs. And where are the party leadership? I'm talking about Council of Elders, the Ethics Committee. Where are they? They are missing in action. If this thing is anything to go by, I want them, I challenge them to come up and then challenge the process and make sure that the right environment is created, so as to give the people the hope that the platform is equal for all. Otherwise, I want to describe that incident at that place as a pure sham. Pure sham.
Roland Walker, what exactly is the problem? Can you confirm if indeed the allegations made by Mr. Yabuabia Samoa are true or not?
Well, I cannot confirm from the northeast end where they are doing the voting. However, we had heard earlier reports that that incident had happened at the party headquarters among the media and the personnel that were here. And also there was an incident in which we have some reports going around that a ballot was shown to the entire public that was at the voting center in Northeast. That raises fundamental questions based on the guidelines that had been set for this very election. And based on that, the director of communication for the Allen team or the Allen campaign, Yabuabia Samoa, a former director of communication for the party himself, says that that is a ground on which the Allen team is refusing to accept any result when the voting ends at 1 p.m. But we also ask some key questions that if you take a look at it, this is a one-off incident that might have happened. And in election processes and when voting is being undertaken and there are concerns as well as some incidents that are reported, sometimes you don't let that halt the process of events. You try to find some agreement resolved. If there are disagreement, find some truth, and then you are in a position to say that the voting should continue. If you look at the response from him, he says that there had been some issues that were brewing based on influences he claims were from the Baumia camp. And these have been instigated by the Bawumia camp to make sure that this is undertaken, whereby a voter, a delegate, goes to cast a ballot. At the end of the day, shows the ballots that has been cast to the public at the voting center. Because that frowns on the electoral rules that have been set by the ruling party for this super delegate conference, he is insisting that is an enough basis or a ground for the Alam team to reject the Northeast votes and the normal votes that will be coming from the decision of the Electoral Commission at the end of the day. We have to say, he also did indicate, which we can't confirm currently, that the agent, their agent, was injured in the process because he had raised concerns about why a rule had been set guiding this process of the election, and then a delegate comes to vote and then shows the ballot to the public at the periphery, or we're talking about the vicinity of the voting center. So that raises fundamental questions. And he said the agent, and that's again according to Yabuabuya Asamoah, the agent currently is receiving treatment. So again, we'll go and verify that. But that is the decision coming from the Alan camp, again, being communicated by Yabuabuya Asamoah, who is no mean person, a former Adenta member of parliament, director of communications for the party, and so also speaks for the Alan team and is raising this. He also says that there have been attempts by some individuals to, again, make it more confirmatory that Bawumia is the leading candidate. He says there's nobody like that. There's nothing like that. And that what is being done, irrespective of the choices that will be made, whether somebody comes first, second, third, and fourth, or fifth, it is just a selection of 5 individuals who then will ultimately go and face the generality of the delegates, numbering over 200,000 in November, to go and elect the presidential candidate of the party, presumptively, to be presented to the Electoral Commission of Ghana for the 2024 presidential election. So he makes that ultimately very succinct for the media to be able to capture and then take some more lessons from. But then we asked him, why are you raising this when you know that this could ultimately also mar the process, also create a certain tension? He says this has been done in the spirit and an atmosphere of transparency to make sure that what is right is right. Something that goes against the rules of the party should be criticized and condemned. That's what he says, Bella. I
see. Well, we'll be waiting for some more updates on this matter, and also hopefully some confirmation with regards to the allegations made on the Northeast agent. But if you look at the guidelines that was issued by the Presidential Elections Committee, it says clearly that voting shall be by secret ballot, and every delegate shall be entitled to 1 vote and must cast their votes for a single aspirant of their choice. And also asks the EC to enforce and adhere to restricting delegates from taking their phones to the ballot booths, using complex serial numbers to avoid ballots being traced to voters, denying influencers and macho men access to the voting center, administering walk-in standard practice, and urging presiding officers not to call out names of delegates in the queue to vote at the voting centers. And so these are some of the guidelines that have been given as well. And Roland, maybe we'll come to you again so you can apprise us more on what is happening. Roland is currently at the headquarters of the NPP. But also brings to bear, earlier when we spoke to one of our correspondents, he said in the Central Region, he said that Cynthia Mamle Morrison, who's a former gender minister, had also raised some concerns, even about some delegates openly declaring their support for one candidate or the other, because she thought that that was wrong in the first place, and that could also lead to some form of chaos eventually. What do you make of that situation? Was it wrong for them to come out and declare their support?
Very, very wrong. Because at this time, this is not a time of campaign. There are 3 phases in election. The pre-election phase, election phase, post-election phase. We are in election phase. All that you do is go and cast your vote, stay somewhere. When it comes to counting, you come around, it's counted, and results are declared at the what? The post-election phase. So what are we seeing here? It tells you that management of the election has broken down beyond repairs in that area. Because that is why we put in what? An election management body that will ensure that all these processes will what? Be smooth, and that it doesn't create any advantage for anybody. And here you are. this is the kind of things that we are experiencing. It's very, very unfortunate that political parties don't spend time to build institutions. These are institutions. And here, when I talk about institutions, I'm talking about the rules, the regulations, the norms, and all that. It's not just a mere walking to cast your vote, but that you are prepared to what? Go through the rules that have been set to regulate your conduct as a voter in voting. And I'm not surprised that this also is happening, because people are learning by experience. We saw it in Parliament, where people voted and showed their ballot. We saw it in NDC, where people voted and showed their ballot, and it's here. My worry is that any time we go for election, there is always the political class trying to introduce something that becomes what? A headache for our society, all right? We started with, macho men. We move on to what? Snatching of ballot boxes and all that, and to, difficult times that they have to what? Come in with a law to prescribe all these things. Today, the way I am seeing things, I am not praying that it happens. If we don't take care, we are going to see a replica of this at the national election, where people vote and then they show their ballot. Look, we are in dangerous times. We need to nip this thing in the bud. And then politicians must show the cause that they love this democracy. They want to defend it at all times. And that hypocrisy that they have, always preaching virtue and practicing vice, must cease.
Musalanko, how do you advise this is handled? Of course, these are just allegations at the moment, but of course, investigations must take place. But what do you think that the senior leadership of the party should do about this?
I think if they want us to believe in them, that they are true Democrats and that they believe in the rules of the game that they themselves set, then they must set a good example for this case. We shouldn't entertain this at all, because it's, as Dr. said, it's going to transcend beyond this small election to the November election and all the way to general election. I think it should be stopped in a way that is open for everyone to see.
Okay.
It's not good. I'm really disappointed, honestly. If these reports are true, I'm truly and sincerely disappointed.
And this is just the Super Delegates conference. So only God knows what could happen.
What could happen?
At the national elections.
I'm very sad about it. I'm really, really sad.
Well, the New Patriotic Party National Chairman Stephen and team has visited the Greater Accra Regional Voting Center. And, well, he also spoke to Roland Walker to give us some details.
The regional treasurer. Today is her birthday. Wow. So she said she dreamt that you came here. And her dream has come true.
What you trying to do? How will you sorry, because we are party person. Oh, party you can make phone and come in. I don't see it too. And then especially the 26 of party.
You don't need to tell delegates how to compete. They know what to do. They know exactly what to do. So I'm not surprised at all. That's so it's been so ordered and peaceful.
This process, you are selecting top 5 out of the top 10. Everybody was expecting a lot of maybe some tensions here and there, but every center we visited so far proves to us that everything is okay.
Yeah, they've been coached. They know exactly what to do. Plus, NPP is still NPP. It's a tradition. We don't believe in mayhem and disorder. So that's exactly what we envisage. We are witnessing it.
Now, with this picture you are painting, is there an indication of what Ghanaians should expect from the NPP? That it's a party that really understands the democratic process.
The rule of law, everything. That's what the NPP stands for. We don't expect anything different from that.
Chairman, we spoke to Alan's campaign team a while ago, and they said the election has not been generally peaceful. Besides an issue in Northeast, one of their agents has been assaulted. Has that issue come to your attention?
I have personally called Northeast, and the issue has been resolved.
Okay, Chairman. So at the end of the
simple misunderstanding.
Yes. With this picture for the foot soldiers out there, is there a time for them to really hope again that at the end of the day, leadership will get you a leader that really will be the one that will lead this elephant to bring it?
Yeah, that's exactly what we are expecting. The process has been orderly. Everybody will vote according to their own conscience. There will be no intimidation, as we are all witnessing. So we expect that at the end of the day, the right person is chosen by the party.
Who is the right person?
Thank you very much, Chairman, and wish you all the best.
All right, and that's the chairman for the NPP, and he says that, well, some of these issues have come to his table and they've tried their best to resolve the matter, and so it's still under control, and they'll give us some updates on that. Mr. Danko, I'll come to you shortly. Just give me a few minutes. Dr. Asante has to go. So I just wanted to come to you on a very important aspect of the conversation. And this is on the back of a statement that was made by Mr. Boakye Adam. He's also a political analyst. And he says that NPP in the Super Delegates Conference should try and ensure some regional balance at all costs. And so for him, he thinks that at least for all the 5 who will be selected from the 10 approved aspirants, they must all come from different regions to ensure some level of regional balance. Do you agree to the statement that he's
I disagree.
made? You disagree?
Yeah, politics is who gets what, when, and how. You are not talking about any fanciful idea that will earn you nothing. You are in for the kill. You are in to win, get a candidate who will appeal to the masses, who will be able to move people along and then vote for him massively. If it's a mere, just ensure agenda or regional balance, I'm afraid that's not the issue. Let them go through the process. Elect whoever becomes the flag bearer, and his government will be take into consideration the issue of regional balance. But at this moment, no, you need somebody who has the political wherewithal to be able to lead the party. You need somebody who is so popular to be able to draw the votes. You need somebody who has the message that resonates with the people. You need somebody who has strategy. You need somebody who has a manifesto that becomes a living document of the party. And you need somebody who is financially disciplined and can ensure value for money. And you need somebody who is loyal and can appeal to the rank and file of the party. It's a whole mix of factors that you need, but not necessarily gender. Because if you look at the regional balance. The regional balance you put there, at the end of the day, that, proposal will fizzle out in the sense that you are going to the final election, you are going to look for one person. And that person, are you looking at what type of regional balance are you talking about here? He is going to be that individual from at least one region. So what else do you can, if you propose this, I believe that there should be a logical conclusion of this thing to the final level. And at the final level, which region do you want to propose that it gets to the final level, and which region will not qualify? That proposal, I disagree.
Well, let me just quote what he says. He says, my prayer is for the delegates to maintain regional balance. It is my hope that the 5 candidates chosen come from the regions, different regions, rather than the same. So all delegates from the Ashanti region should vote for Alan, while those from Northeast should vote for Bawumia. Then from the Central region, Kennedy Japan should be considered. They can also vote for Jogate in the Western region and Boakye Jako in the Eastern region. And if they are successful in doing so, it will ensure regional balance and a fair representation of all the regions and demonstrate that those who run in the various regions were fairly represented.
The electorate, the delegates for this matter, are those who are going to decide. And they don't decide based on theory and all that. They are the realists. They know the situation on the ground, and they want to elect somebody who really rub shoulders with John Mahama, and then other party flag bearers who will emerge. So it is not that type of theory that they are looking at. They are looking at somebody who can really do the magic and bring home the smile on the faces of the people.
Well, Gaji also, and he's a member of Kennedy Japan's team, says that the standards set for the election are being undermined. Mr. Yabuabia Samoa and other aspirants are making serious allegations that should be addressed by elections committee immediately. Well, we'll take a break at this point. Dr. Asante, thank you so much for joining us. You'll be taking leave of us, and he's a political scientist with the University of Ghana. Musa Dankwa is still here with us, the Executive Director for Global Info Analytics, and we have more coming up. Voting is still ongoing. It ends at 1, and so we'll keep you updated as we carry on with the transmission. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
President Akufo, member will show down. Vice President, member will show down. So, Mama chasing me agent. I'm not going to shut them. What do you embassy? What do you bet in the embassy? Yes, me challenge President Akufo anytime. Show down in this country. President Akufo, member will show down. Vice President, member will show down. So, Mama chasing me agent. I'm not going to shut them. What do you embassy? What am I betting you? Yes, me challenge President Akufo anytime.
And that is Honorable Kennedy Ejapong, and of course, he earlier wasn't too happy about some allegations that have been made against some members of, the elections committee, of course, indicating that some of his agents have been attacked. And you clearly heard from him where he says that he will give the president and the vice president a showdown. We're yet to ascertain exactly what the real situation is and if it's really true that some agents have been injured, like we've heard from not just Honorable Kennedy Ejapong, but also from Mr. Yabuabing Asamoah, who's the communications director for Honorable Alan Kojo Tremate. But you're welcome back, and of course this is Media General's coverage, of course, of the Super Delegates Conference. We're not only live on TV3, we're also live on 3FM 92.7 and also live across our social media platforms, so on Facebook and also Twitter, now X, and also on YouTube. And we still have Musa Dankwa here with us. He is the Executive Director for the Global Info Analytics. He's also a pollster, and he's still here. We have a lot to talk about, but also allegations of delegates flouting party's directive by publicly declaring cast ballots has become another challenge. We bring you a comprehensive report across the country on the conference right here. And so even after I'm gone, there'll still be a number of my colleagues here who will be taking charge and giving you all the updates. But let me come back to you, Musa. And that question that I asked Dr. Asante earlier about the regional balance and representation, and why one political analyst thinks that just to ensure that there's a fair representation, the delegates should vote in such a way that the top 5 represents the various regions. Do you agree to that assertion that he made?
No, I don't. Because this is not about appointment to constitutional offices where the Constitution says that you must have a regional balance. Elections is about numbers. It's a numbers game. Who can give you the numbers? If they are all from one region and they can give you the numbers, so be it. It's about who can win. But it's probably nice to have that, we have in the final 5 all people from all manner of regions, so that means that we are all inclusive. That doesn't add anything.
It doesn't add anything to us at all?
No, because at the end of the day, you want a strong candidate.
Does the issue of tribalism and also religious polarization come to play? And looking at the study that you've done, because you have conducted some study on this, did it come to play when you were conducting this research? You
know, in 2022, religion and ethnicity was getting traction in the polls.
Yeah.
But since the economic crisis, it's really fizzled out.
Completely?
Completely. Those who were going to vote based on religion and ethnicity, well below 2% of voters. Economy has now become the trump card for everybody.
Okay.
So when you have economic crisis, people's ethnicity really doesn't matter anymore. But you cannot say that entirely when you have candidates that are very similar in all respect and very unique, then some of those factors will become, what do you call it, differentiating factors. So not in the primaries, as far as I can say, but in the general election, that could manifest.
That could manifest?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's see how that goes. But then again, if you look at even the way Honorable Kennedy Ejapong is fuming about this clearly sends a message, probably to the grassroots. Could this have an impact on how the elections would go on November 4th, if indeed these allegations become true?
I think what is going to happen is that it would clearly create a gulf or alliances between the anti-establishment candidates.
Okay.
It would reinforce them and probably give them a reason to come together and fight what they probably call a common enemy. And I think that's what we'll see. Depending upon who falls in the top 5, if there are people who are anti-establishment, you could see a quick convergence of these people to fight the establishment, because they may realize that, look, if we go on in the final contest fragmented, we could probably suffer. So it may accelerate the rate at which some of them will drop from the race.
But again, there were concerns that even the Super Delegates Conference, maybe it should not have happened. Or if it had happened, then there's no need to cap it at 5, because the Constitution doesn't necessarily say 5. It could have been up to 5. But the party was quite emphatic when it said that we're going to select 5. And that, for some people, was problematic.
I mean, for me, you see, if you work with numbers for some time, you could set up a cutoff period, a cutoff mark, that anybody who does not get, let's say, 10% or 5% will drop out. You may end up getting 2-3 people in the final 3. not 5. And that even is better because people could go through today with 0.5%.
Yeah.
From the way it looks. Because if they are counting the top 5, somebody gets 70%, 20%, and somebody gets 0.5, by virtue of the ranking of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he may qualify.
Yeah.
But is it really worth it?
It's not worth it?
0.5%. You see, elsewhere, you know, for example, if you look at the United States, who do this presidential poll system, people would declare their intention to contest. And as time goes on, they'll be watching the poll numbers. Depending upon where they sit in the polls, they begin to drop out and join alliances. Here, we don't. We go all the way. Even when we know that there's no way we can make any difference, they are still confident that they will win.
So you don't think that, and again, per the guidelines, if you look at what was dropped, they said that further, in the event of 2, 3, or 4 of the aspirants sharing the total results with the remaining candidates not obtaining any votes, there will be a runoff for those who obtained 0 votes to add up to make up the 5. While in the event of a tie between 2 or more candidates for the 5th position, a runoff election will be conducted for those who will tie on Saturday, September 2, 2023. You don't think that this is necessary?
I mean, it's just unnecessary kind of rules they've created for themselves. Because people can... Look, the numbers are important. Why would you organize an election for people who have gotten 0.1%? They are tied and that 0.1%.
Could anything change? The fact maybe they got 0.1%, but could anything change coming to the November 4 elections?
Look, this NPP race is between the top 3 candidates, period.
Okay.
Because the rest of the people that we are pushing to make up the 5, in the polls we did, they were performing less than 1%.
Yeah.
So for me, it's neither here nor there. It's between Alan, Kennedy, and Bawumia, period.
If you look at the years of primaries and votes, and you look at Alan, of course, this would be the 4th time that he's contesting in the primaries. In 2007, he was able to poll 32.3% of the votes. But in 2010, his votes dwindled.
Yes.
So it moved to 19.91%. But at least at that time, I think that the voters register had increased by number, okay? And then in 2014, it went down again to 4.75%. So he's not been performing too well.
But you see, he's not been performing against a particular candidate.
Okay.
Nanado was the flag bearer in 2008. So he didn't succeed. The obvious choice for people would be to return him back to the contest and see whether he can win the election in 2012.
He says it's time.
No, but by that time, Nanado hasn't fizzled out. Once Nanado is in the shadow, Alan will find it difficult to break through.
Okay.
And Nanado lost 2012 elections, and he went to the Supreme Court to challenge the results. And people felt that, oh, maybe he was cheated, so let's put him back again in 2016. That's why Alan lost again in 2014, because people felt that let's try Nanado again for the last time.
And that's why his votes dwindled.
Absolutely. But what we've seen in the poll numbers is quite huge numbers he's polling.
Okay, so things could be different this time around.
Yeah, things could be different.
Okay, well, let's hear from Honorable Shirley Ayoko Boche. She's the Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Minister, and she's also spoken after casting her vote.
So far, so very, very good.
Oh, no, but what qualities are you looking out for in the people?
I'm looking for, let me say that every one of the 10 are well qualified to lead our country. But then we also need to look beyond, which is who will help us, or who has a better chance if he or she leads, and this time it's all ease. If he leads, will help us break the AIDS, and I believe my candidate will.
In terms of unifying the party, what should the party do after this internal process?
I think that we all understand that. Even all the 10 people understand that there's only one person who will win this election. And then, of course, the main one, which is on the 4th. 2 people can't share that spot. And therefore, everyone going into the race knows that they stand a chance, but it is one person who will win. So that's basically it. So if you do not win, you rally around the winner, and we prosecute the agenda to break the 8 and get back into government in 2025, 7th of January. But so far it's going well.
Okay, if at the end of this exercise, the person who will make a winner extends invitation to you to be a running mate, would you accept it?
I'll think about it. But it's not something that a decision you take like this. So you think about it, you consult, and all of that.
Is it worrying that we don't have any females contesting in this one?
Well, eventually we will. For now, it's not worrying. It's not worrying. No female has expressed that interest and gone forward, but it's not worrying. Eventually it will happen, like it has happened in other places.
So, Mom, is this process really telling Ghanaians that the NPP really understands the real democracy, looking at the processes you've put in place?
Oh, I believe so. Absolutely. You can tell from what is happening and the reports from all over the country that we understand what we are doing very well, and we also know that it must be done in a very decorous manner, which is befitting of what we are all about, a very decent party. The one who wins will win with a very clear margin.
And will you have intentions of becoming a running mate of any of them?
Well, we are here to pick our leader. Why are you thinking of a running mate at this point? We are here to pick our leader.
But it's something you'd consider if it comes your way.
Well, I believe anybody in the party will consider it, including myself. So it doesn't really. We are here to pick our leader. Why are you thinking of a running mate at this point? We're here to pick our leader.
But it's something you'd consider if it comes your way.
Well, I believe anybody in the party will consider it, including myself. So it doesn't really. Don't know what to say except to say that any one of us will consider it. But today we are choosing our leader.
Top 5. You are choosing top 5.
Hey, number 10 is number 1. He will lead. Wide margin.
Thank you very much.
That's my candidate.
Well, Honorable Shirley Ayoko-Botchwey, very interesting questions there. Of course, one of them being the fact that would she consider if she's asked to become a vice presidential candidate for whoever wins? And she says, well, not that she's thought of, but of course, it's something she will consider. Let's hear from another woman whose name has also come up a number of times. She's also cast her vote. She is a formidable team member of the NPP. She's a Minister for Communications, Esla Owusu-Ekufo.
And we've always set the pace when it comes to our electoral arrangements. So far, and I've been monitoring from the other regions as well. Everything is going on smoothly.
And we'll just pick his views quickly as she tries to go in to cast her vote.
People are trooping in to cast their ballots. We're hopeful that will be done long before 1 o'clock, and then the results are declared and we move. We think it's an excellent arrangement. There have been a few comments made that people didn't quite like during the campaigning, but all the aspirants and their supporters have been spoken to that this is an internal contest. At the end of the day, we're choosing, ultimately on November 4th, we're choosing our flag bearer, who is going to represent the entire party as we move to do battle on 7 December 2024. So we shouldn't let this degenerate into an acrimonious contest, which will necessitate a lot of effort and work to resolve differences afterwards. We know all the aspirants, we've worked with all of them, but only one will emerge victorious. Now, even after today's elections, I'm hopeful that we have a clear front-runner emerging who would have garnered the support of the majority of the leadership of this party. Those who constitute the delegates for this special Delegates Congress form or comprise the leadership of the party, and we all have significant influence over the membership of the party. And none of us is doing our own will here. We're acting based on what the grassroots have told us, what they have directed us to do. We represent them. So we cannot come in and do our own thing. So if at the end of the day, a clear front runner emerges, I'll urge the others to sit down so that we can have a frank conversation about how we go into the November contest. So we emerge more united, stronger, better positioned to take on the opposition NDC and retain power for the benefit of the generality of Ghanaians. So,
finally.
Okay.
Esla Osu-Ekufo, the Minister for Communications, speaking there after casting her ballot. But let's take a look at the, the messages from the 10 aspirants, and of course the interesting sloganeering that has come with it as well. Kennedy Japan came with a PhD, which means patriotism, honesty, and discipline. And he says that if the country needs to progress and develop, then everyone must be put on their toes through loyalty and discipline to develop the nation. Alan Kojo-Chamartin says, "Edru was so," which means that it is your turn. And of course, he's saying that considering the number of times that he has vied for the flag bearership race, it is his time for him to become the leader of the party. Jogate is also running on hope and unity agenda, and he says it's time for Ghanaians to give him to be given the good treatment with respect to their lives. Dr. Efrie Akoto, very interesting slogan there. He says Atopa, but it actually means Akoto tops all. He says that he stands tall amongst all the other candidates. Kwabena J. Japan says it is a new dawn, and his government will run a lean-sized administration. A total of 54 ministers is what he will run with. Francis Adai Nimo, he says it is the new face agenda for him, and there will be a revival of the economy to meet the expectations of Ghanaians. Then Dr. Mahmoud Bamia says it is possible. That is his slogan, and he touts himself as the right person to lead the NPP. Dr. Kofi Kunedua-Preku says he is running on hope. He says that we need to still instill that hope in the grassroots. Now, let me come to him in particular, Dr. Kunedua-Preku, because this will be the third time actually, that he's running. In 1998, he ran, and he came third with 2.8% of the votes. In 2007, it didn't look too good for him. He only polled just about 0.83% of the votes. He's back again. Also another person who's not really been in the faces of people. How could this pan out for him?
I really don't see him doing well this time around again, because he's left the local political scene. He's been in the ECOWAS institution, working within ECOWAS and shaping some policies for ECOWAS member states. And once you are quiet on this local front, you get forgotten. And that's what has happened to him. I don't think he'll pull any numbers. If you look at the work we've done in the NPP delegate, he is probably the last but one.
Last but one?
Yes.
Who is the last?
Boachejaku.
Boachejaku will be the last?
Was the last in the NPP poll we did in June.
Oh, wow. Yes. And he was last, but he says he's bringing hope to Ghanaians.
Politicians are different animals. Let me call them this way.
Okay.
Even when they know it's not good, they will give you all the hopes that you need to have. And by the end of the day, the chickens will come home to roost.
Well, okay. You've given us your top 5. So that means that there are 5 positions. You've given us the last 2.
Yes.
There are 3 positions in the middle there.
Now,
give us those names.
If you look at Boachejaku, he is running as a reformist, somebody, very disciplined guy. I have no doubt in his competence and his strong sense of mind and the ability to do things right. But the people he is looking for support from are not the people that will take that message.
Who is he looking for the support
from? We know who the super delegates are.
Yeah.
Regional and national party executives. People who are with the current system. See, that's the argument I have been making all along. That unless you find favor with this group of people, you are highly unlikely to do well among them. The same thing applies to Kwabena Japan. Japan does very well in the base, in the grassroots. In fact, he is 4th when it comes to MPP nationally. Who do you want?
Oh, he's 4th.
He's 4th among the members who are people who are contesting. But once you leave the MPP base, then he begins to fizzle out.
Which is why he didn't make it onto your top 5 list.
Yes. But he was also one of the rebels running against the establishment. And once you're running against the establishment, then you will not find favor in that group. Alan has been very careful. In the first speech he delivered, he sent out few salvos, and he kind of walked back a bit. And was walking a fine line because he knows the guys who are going to make the decision definitely are people who will not be happy with the salvos. But again, he must also show that, look, he understands what is going on in the country. He feels what the country is feeling. He can't be oblivious about what is happening in the country. Otherwise, I mean, why would you put yourself up there? So I think he was walking a fine line. So I don't see problem for him in terms of the super delegate, because he's an old guy as well. He has alliances and friends, and he was gonna go through. Kennedy, as I mentioned, he's gonna go through because of if they leave him out, there will be a dynamite in the race, and then everything can happen.
But Kwabena Agyepong in particular, you think that for the amount of time he spent helping other people also eventually emerge as president, because he was part of the 92 presidential campaign for Albert Dubois. In 96, he was in Kufuor's camp. In 98, he was in Akufo-Addo's camp. And then eventually he became part of the general elections. So he's had some experience and understands the dynamics of the grassroots and also the top tier of the party. You don't think that he may, at this point, know how to play this game to inure to his benefits?
You see, it always comes back to the demography of the voters. Who are the voters? When he was in office, I believe 80% of people who are holding office today were in there. So the grounds have shifted. So once you analyze the data and understand the data fully, you know that no, these guys that are running the party nationally now, probably they were not anywhere near when Kennedy was, Agyepong was there. So the support that he may have enjoyed would have fizzled out. And also the same principle that he's a rebel candidate within the party trying to fight the system. And these guys who are going to vote are part of the system.
What is with the NPP and sloganeering? Because clearly Ghanaians have sent a strong message to even the Akufo-Addo governments that you came with a lot of slogans, we haven't really seen much happen for us. And then we see the aspirants also coming up with their own taglines and sloganeerings. Are they thinking that this will work even at a time when Ghanaians have said so many times that
these are all marketing,
it's never really worked for us?
Marketing tools, right? And you should find a way to make it work, even if people don't believe in it.
In this case, can they make it work?
Well, I'm not an expert in political communication or political marketing.
But you have the numbers, which is why I'm asking. Could this also play a role?
But you see, Ghanaians have moved on from sloganeering, whatever you call it. People are looking for solutions. In fact, when we spoke to Ghanaians about what is important to them when electing their candidate, it was about competence, integrity, right, and better manager of the economy, can fight corruption. So if you have a slogan, it is for you to see how this slogan fits into the key criteria Ghanaians are looking for. If you're not able to do that, then you will be firing or misfiring.
On the baggage of the current administration as well.
Absolutely.
And that could clearly play a role.
Absolutely.
This is going to be an interesting one. And yes, we're still updating you on the NPP Super Delegates Conference. Remember that we're also live on 3FM 92.7 and also live on social media. Let us know what your thoughts are on this. You must also be monitoring keenly on this matter. But Musa Danko, I just want to say thank you and maybe final words before we wrap up. I know you also have to leave at this point.
I'm just looking forward to see how the results will pan out. I'm really looking for a normal race. That's what we want. We want normality. But if there is anything that is abnormal in a race, for me, it will be very fascinating. And we'll see how it affects the polling in November.
Well, you had said earlier that it won't necessarily affect it.
No, I'm saying that depending on what happens. I remember I said that if there's a landslide, then nothing else changes. But if the gap is narrow, then the narrative will change.
If there's a landslide, nothing changes. But, well, if the gap is narrowed, then that could change everything. Thank you so much, Mr. Dankwa, for joining us. He's the Executive Director for Global Info Analytics. He's also a pollster. And Duke Mensah Opoku will be joining me again to give us some more insights into the dynamics at play at the moment. Keep watching. This is your Election Command Center, and we're covering the NPP Super Delegates Conference. We'll be right back.